Bernie Sanders and Elizabeth. Oh, you know what? Before I get to the polls, I have to show you something, folks, because this is truly alarming. It is truly alarming what's going on here. And honestly, when put in conjunction with the polls, I personally think the Democratic Party needs to start calling for Joe Biden to drop out of the race. I'm not saying that to be funny. I'm not saying that to mock him. I'm not even saying it based on his politics. I'm saying it because this guy isn't well. It's okay. I'm not wishing him not to be well, but he's not well. And anyone with eyes and common sense could see this. Want to show you, I don't know who Joe Biden was interviewing with, but watch this clip and you tell me if something is wrong.
In a position where they're on Medicaid, they automatically be enrolled with no cost. In addition to that, we also have a mechanism to control drug prices. You know, we're no longer using chemical-based things. All this thing we're dealing with cancers and other issues relating to the immune system are bio-oriented. They're very expensive, and we should set up a system, which I propose, which I will if I'm elected president, that allows the folks at the folks at Health and the Health Department.
As you could see, and again, this is not to mock Joe Biden. This is not to say anything about Joe Biden as a person. I don't wish him I don't wish poor health on anybody, even people I don't agree with politically. But for the love of God, this guy, I don't know what that is. I don't know if it's clear he's stuttering. It's clear he's not capable of saying the word. I think what he was trying to say is mechanism, but he was stuttering over that word. And then he stuttered several more times. And he is forgetting things because he closes his eyes and basically shuts down. And to me, this is very simple, folks. Before we get to the polls or anything, he can't construct sentences. He can't speak clearly. He's forgetting words. He's forgetting thoughts. It is irresponsible of the corporate media to keep pretending that these are gaffes. I don't care if the corporate media jumps ships and goes to push Kamala Harris hard again. I don't care if they jump ship and go to push Elizabeth Warren, which we'll have a story on later. But if the sincere, most important thing that we keep on hearing about is we have to beat Donald Trump, that's the only thing that matters. Joe Biden's wife said it. Even if you don't agree with my husband, even if you don't, even if you like somebody else, the central thing, who's going to beat Donald Trump? Look in front of your screen. I just played it for you. He can't complete sentences without stuttering. This could happen for many reasons. It could happen because when somebody who clearly is not all there cognitively anymore is traveling a lot, there's a lot of wear and tear on your body, on your mind, and you're struggling. But you cannot look at Bernie Sanders and say the same thing. That's not me saying it as a Bernie supporter. That's just, we all have eyes. It's one thing if you mess up the city you're in. Yesterday he said he was in Vermont when he was standing in front of a diner in New Hampshire. But when it's clear that you're having cognitive malfunctions in real time, at a certain point, journalists need to stop. Oh, I got to protect my access. It's a fact. Look in front of you. These are not gaffes. Gaffes are when, you put your foot in your mouth, you say things that are a little politically incorrect maybe, you sniff young children's hairs. Well, that's not a gaffe, that's just creepy. But this is a train wreck. If this guy gets anywhere near the Democratic nomination, not only are you going to have depressed turnout as far as the presidential race for Democrats, you might have depressed turnout for the Senate races, the congressional races, because it's top down. So if you have excitement or lack of excitement for the presidential nominee, Democrat or Republican, it goes all the way down where you see depressed turnout for Senate races, for congressional races. So what you just saw, and if you watched us yesterday, I showed you some other clips. He's forgetting where he is. He said he was talking about his health care plan and said, oh, yeah, we're going to make sure it's, poor quality. I'm assuming he meant to say good quality. So then you have this news of the Monmouth University poll. And I want to be fair. I want to be fair because I've been critical. I've been critical of polls like Monmouth. So we can't, cheer for polls like Monmouth. But then when it says something favorable about Bernie Sanders, oh, Monmouth is great. So there have been concerns. There have been concerns about this poll. I'm just being honest. But you look at from the last time this poll came out, June 2019, Bernie Sanders up 6 points, now in 20%. Elizabeth Warren up 5 points. She's up 5%. Joe Biden was at 32, now at 19, a 13-point drop. 13-point drop. An important thing to note here from this poll, Biden has suffered across-the-board decline in his support since June. He lost ground with white Democrats, down from 32 to 18, and voters of color, down from 33 to 19. And we've been told Joe Biden's strongest category is among African-American voters. Whoever is going to win the Democratic nomination has to do well among African-American voters. Right there, he's down 14% among black voters. Also among voters without a college degree, from 35% to 18%. To me, that's the biggest alarm bells for Joe Biden in this whole thing. The African-American vote is important, the fact that he is dropping in that, but to be down by that much among those with only a high school degree, well, those are Trump's voters. That is mostly the Rust Belt. So if he's down that much among those with just high school degrees, where are those going to? I would argue the majority of them are going to be going to Bernie Sanders, not Elizabeth Warren, because Bernie Sanders' numbers thus far have been strongest among those with just a high school degree, which, by the way, is the majority of Americans, only of high school degrees. So let's go back to this. He's down among men, 38 to 24%, women down 29 to 16%, and among voters under 50 years old, from 21% under the age of 50 to 6%. Talk about the bingo candidate here. So, not criticizing our viewers or friends above the age of 50. We love you very much, and I'm already feeling like I'm over the age of 50 based on my back. However, by the data, most older Americans tend to vote for candidates like Joe Biden, Hillary Clinton, the establishment, but you can't have just 6% support among those under the age of 50. That's anemic. You can't win a nomination that way. He's also down. Most of Biden's lost support in these groups shifted equally towards Sanders and Warren. Okay, that's fair. Then we have same thing, yeah. So then I want to read something to you from this poll that stood out to me. Biden's drop in support is coming disproportionately from later states that have less impact on the process. But if this trend continues, it could spell trouble for him in the early states if it undermines his claim to being the most electable candidate. This could benefit someone like Harris, who remains competitive in the early states and could use a strong showing there to propel her into the top tier. Biden lost support over the last 2 months among Democrats who call themselves moderate or conservative, down 18 points from 40% to 22%. With the shift among these voters accruing to both Sanders from 10% to 20% and Warren from 6% to 16%. So both Sanders and Warren are up both by 10 points among voters who call themselves either moderate or conservative. Biden also lost support among liberals from 24 to 15, but this group's backing is scattered to a variety of other candidates. Sanders has picked up a few points among liberal voters from 17 to 21, while Warren has held fairly steady, also known as down a point, 25 to 24, and Harris has not budged with this group, 10 to 11%. Why I wanted to show you that, so the whole thing, the whole case that the Biden lovers have been making is Joe Biden is the one who could pick up those moderate voters in the Rust Belt. Joe Biden, the whole argument for Joe Biden from CNN, MSNBC, the Washington Post, all these freaking corporate outlets that are slobbering all over him again, is he could pick up those moderate voters in the Rust Belt. He could pick up those Trump Democrats. First of all, I've said, and Status Quo has said, there's no such thing as moderate voters in the Rust Belt. This is a bullshit, demonetized, swear jar, super chat. This is a bullshit thing that the corporate media makes up, because if there was all these moderate voters in the Rust Belt, then we'd have President Clinton right now. And unless I'm seeing something different, Hillary Clinton right now is probably in the woods with her dog. She's not in the White House. So there is not this thing of a moderate explosion in the Rust Belt. But that is why I have been saying all along, there is no moderate voter to be gotten in the Rust Belt. The voters in Wisconsin, Michigan, Pennsylvania, and Ohio, throw in Iowa there, they voted for Trump not because he was a moderate, not because he was proposing, milquetoast centrism. He spoke like a progressive on economics. End the wars, let's get out of other countries. I'm going to repeal NAFTA. I'm taking it to Goldman Sachs. This isn't a very Republican thing of me to say, but to hell with it. We got to cover everybody. Universal health care. Do you remember these things? Because I was there. I was covering all these rallies. Donald Trump, he's full of it, obviously. He didn't mean a word. He ran as an economic populist, and that's why he got these voters. Voters could smell a neoliberal fraud. Voters could smell a faux-aggressive in Hillary Clinton. Stronger together. That's not an economic plan. That's a bumper sticker that means nothing. So the fact that Joe Biden is losing among moderates only shows you what, if the corporate media would actually report facts, we have known for years. Bernie Sanders does incredibly well among independents. Last time I checked, independents are what you need to win a general election. Yes, you need your base to turn out, but you also need independents. Bernie Sanders has always done incredibly well among independents. Bernie Sanders also, in terms of Democrats, has always generally done well among Republicans. I mean, he doesn't have like 75% support among Republicans, but last poll I looked at, he was in the 30s among Republicans. That ain't bad for a boogeyman socialist. Hope you enjoyed that last video. Hop on over to statusquo.com where you can sign up for our email list and become a member for as low as $5 to $10 a month. Membership is how we grow. That's statusquo.com/join. And remember, join our email list so we can grow the revolution with you.